How do you rate yourself? And how do you feel you are living up to your own expectations right now? Are you carrying guilt or shame because you feel like you've failed or not provided as you should have? Dealing with that part of yourself that does not want to disappoint. All this and more in episode 13 of Music, Spirit and Accountability with Michael Cooper and Jay Hode.
So in this conversation, we come in with our most authentic selves, doing our best to represent and come back to our hearts, coming back to love. These are kind of really touchy subjects. Speaking on behalf of Michael and I, and probably men all around the world right now, and women, I'm sure too. But this part of us that feels like we don't want to disappoint, this part of us that feels like we want to be we want to be everything we can. We want to be all we can, of course. And then there's also on the flip side of that, at times we carry around this guilt or shame around failing. Um, Sometimes as men, and again, I'm sure for women also, especially with children, and these sorts of things, this pressure we put on ourselves around failing, or maybe not providing. Um, and it's that fine line between it being a blessing and a curse, right? So we're just trying to put some things in place, maybe for ourselves in this podcast today, around maybe things we put in place, or where we find ourselves excelling, where we find ourselves failing, and as we always do in Music, Spirit and Accountability podcast, putting ourselves on the line, throwing ourselves into the lion den. I can see Mike's face, giving the uh, uh, I want to say slightly insecure chuckle as we do our best to come into this vulnerability. So loving that, brother, as always, honoring your magic and feeling the same way myself. So, um, brother, how are you feeling today, and how's what I just said land for you? What's coming up?
The chuckle is real. Um, yeah, that's alive for me today. That's this is me in the rawness and in fullness. What I'm navigating right now is, and I see this and have seen this for quite some time. It wasn't something I was conscious to. It was certainly an unconscious pattern, and it was an unconscious behavior. I can now see how systemic it's been in my life now that it's been dropped into my awareness. But I've known this trait to be with all men as well, and all the men that I work with and coach, and also just you see online. As men, we have always been providers. And I understand that socioeconomics and demographics have changed of late, and women are providing for themselves and very proficient. But that doesn't mean that our innate desire to provide from our ancestors that are in our DNA from years and years gone by, of our desire to provide, is still strong in all men. And I came across today the awareness for me that I really high, that inevitably I'll always fail them. And I had a beautiful, beautiful friend reflect back to me this morning. Well, she said, can I share where you've already failed me? And I'm like, I don't want to hear that.
Mm.
But she did that from the space of just loosening this grip on it for me. And, I that helped a lot. That is your part. She goes, you're destined to fail. And this is when this friend of mine is divine, and she's beautiful. And she said, and that's the part I love about you most. She said, that's the part, and because she loves the part of me that I hate the most about myself. She can love all the aspects of me. She goes, yeah, you present all of these beautiful traits and all the things that you do, but it's your shadow that I want to hold for you. It's your shadow that I want to love for you. And so, yeah, for me to break that down for the listeners, I guess I have this deep desire to never fail the feminine, to always provide, to always be safe, to always be secure, to always be this divine, what the epitome of the divine masculine is, which is near impossible to embody that 24/7, 365. I'm still human, and I don't allow myself that flexibility. I don't allow myself that let off the hook. And that's a huge amount of pressure. And I just carry that pressure every day. I don't think much of it day to day until I fail,
Yeah.
until I mess up, and the example that was given to me by my dear friend this morning was, oh, when you opened the car door for me, you tried to open the door for your daughter at the same time, and the door slipped, and she said, my daughter said to me, oh, you dropped the ball there, Dad. And there was humor in that moment, but I felt that I failed simply because here I am trying to do the act of chivalry and opening the door for these beautiful women, and I fucked it up, you know, and I couldn't have won either way because I'm trying to do two doors at once, and it didn't matter whether my daughter's door closed first or the woman getting in the car's door closed, and I missed either one of those. I was destined to fail the feminine. And I know that sounds silly, and that was beautiful for my friend to reflect back to me. He's like, hey, you're gonna fail, and it's okay. But yeah, it's in us to always be this pillar for our women, be this pillar of strength. And that is a huge amount of pressure that I'm sure most women don't realize that men carry. Whether they're air quotes, good men, bad men, toxic men, we have this innate desire to provide and care and protect our women.
Yeah.
And what I came to realize is today that I'm destined to fail that. And that's a lot to grapple with. I have to sit with that now and nurse my nervous system into, holy shit, the one thing you're trying to do all the time, you will fail at. Yeah.
It's interesting just thinking of social media with the different strong opinions that people have about what men should be or what women should be. Let's say with men, if it's this providing pillar, I feel like I'm seeing more and more of it all the time about women or men posting that men should be the provider and really leaning into that, and then also the other side of men being more submissive and not being providing, being more not necessarily in touch with their emotions, and men that cry and that sort of thing, although there's a lot around that as well. But just these strong opinions that just create pressure, and then same for women of what the women should or shouldn't be with their sexuality, whether it's being open sexuality and really leaning into that way of being, or the other way of why are people being like that. Like, there's just so much pressure around it all. And I think, the golden nugget in what you just said for me is that, no matter what the outcome to the situation of those two doors was, just to keep it simple, you're gonna, it's never ending. The journey never ends, right? The journey never ends. And being doing our best to be at peace with what is along the way is huge, but also not being at peace with what is, because otherwise maybe you'd never grow. They're all lessons along the way to grow and evolve. But it's really interesting to see how easily it is to put pressure on ourselves through these things, and that's what I'm feeling a lot in these things that you've just shared, Mike, and just beautiful sharings, brother. And we hear that all the times with our clients about these things with social media. Sometimes going on, like the benefits of going on, and the negatives, like it's for a lot of people they compare. I do it, I'm sure you do it. Like, you can't help it. Sometimes you see someone epic that's often super inspiring to you. Some of those men that you mentioned before. Who are the men that you mentioned before on social media?
Aubrey Marcus and Stefano and all of the pillars of what we would personify as to be these
The
ideal
caliber.
men.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and you know, these men are just incredible. As I feel, you know, we are in our own way too. We're not perfect. We're always striving for more. But when you're on that, I guess the point of what I was saying is you see guys like say Stefano, just incredible, and then sometimes it's just like it's this thing of like you learn so much, but then there's that also that reflection sometimes where it's like, wow, I want to be more like that. Or you could be like, you know, you could even be like, wow, I'm never going to be like that. Or then someone else might compare you and say you're never going to be like that, or you're never going to be that good. That's when it really hurts, you know. That's when it can really trigger you out of your you know, out of your comfort zone, maybe easier than usual. But anyway, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can interpret that. So how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that in 2023?
I love that because you brought something in my awareness just then. Is yeah, these guys, we pin them as on these pedestals. And what we're comparing them to, what we're seeing is 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 90 seconds of their brilliance. There's 24 hours in the day. They are not like that 24/7. Now,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, my entire day or my entire life is being benchmarked against 90 seconds of brilliance. Now, I know Stefano, and I know, not personally, but I know Aubrey has his moments. He has his humanity, you know, his humanness. And that's not documented. It's not aired. And we're not comparing apples to apples.
Mm,
We're comparing highlight reels to reality,
mm,
you know, and that's an unfair comparison and it's an unfair pressure. And it's also, you know, it's a slander of one's character when someone, you know, when I'll use myself, if I'm in the, because I've had this, you know, I've had someone say to me, oh, you can't do that because you're spiritual. Or I didn't expect you to do that because you're a masculine leader. I was like, well, I'm still human. I have feelings. I don't suppress everything. I
mm,
teach people about having all the emotions. Should I just be this robot that is a masculine leader? And that's
mm.
my title. And that's now become my identity. And that's become what I must model at every moment. Or can I cry? Or can I actually be sad? Is it okay if I'm allowed to be angry?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned social media and navigating that world. I hear a lot of this talk about toxic masculinity, but where is that coming from? Who is that coming from? Most of the time, that's coming from a trauma based or a fear based thought or feeling.
Mm,
And if we're really honest, if the world we live in is as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul, if there's toxic masculinity, guess what there is? To equal and opposite proportion, toxic femininity.
yeah.
We cannot have toxic masculinity without the equal and opposite proportion in the feminine.
Mm,
And if we're talking about that, the divine feminine doesn't actually project, or they force decisions on them, or they don't demand. So that's a version of this femininity that we're not desiring, but no one talks about that. We're all asking the men to step up and not be so toxic and do these things. But it's not one without the other. We
yeah.
all are in this. Let's collapse this separation of hierarchy and let's collapse this separation as a whole and look at it as the whole
Mm,
and say, hey, I'm in this game. You are me. I am you.
yeah.
We're no different. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm just your mirrored projection. So
Yeah.
what you see in me is actually what's being going on inside of you.
Yeah.
Why can't we look at this and be together as like, how do we rise humanity? Let's not go toxic masculinity because then they're only flying with one wing on the bird.
Yeah.
We need both wings to fly in unison. That's what this new earth needs.
I really
That's what
feel that,
this
brother. Yeah. I
this
feel
this unity and union.
yeah, even sometimes when we say the word man or masculine, I feel like I do my best to come back to when you say the word man, I feel the word woman as well. Or when you say the word masculine, I do my best to feel the word feminine because really, you know, so much of it also comes down to personal opinion and you know, I think there's some basic principles of energetics,
Mm,
the core that we're kind of maybe are more masculine than feminine, maybe more feminine than masculine. And I know they definitely are, but it's just a personal opinion as well. It's really interchangeable, and just honoring whether, Mike and I say man or masculine, or we say woman or, feminine. They definitely, they cross over so much, and inviting that to inviting us to embrace what you just said, Mike, about taking away some of the boundaries around this as well. And yeah, it's sometimes we need to we need to embrace that. I also just want to say what you said before about that 90 seconds of, you see that person, that's 90 seconds of their day compared to the 24 hours, and how we get that opinion. The other flip side to that too, of, you or I might assess that 90 seconds as continually just freaking amazing. Like, this dude is amazing. Whereas for the next person, those consistent 90-second interpretations could be, this guy's full of crap. He's a loser. I never want to be like that, right? So, on top of that 90 seconds, that person that thinks that person is not great in that 90 seconds might really like them when they're not being like that. So again,
Yep.
there's two sides to all the stories here.
Everything.
So we're just, navigating through the middle somewhere there.
I think too, with look at masculine and feminine, I tried to explain this the other day in that, yes, I am a man, as in a man who desires to play in his masculine energy, but I am not robbing myself of the feminine experience.
Mm, yeah.
And it's not 60-40. It's not, I'm a masculine and 100% feminine. It's an energetic flow that moves between me. I am both all at once, all encompassing. My choice is to lean into the traits of masculinity.
Yeah.
But my healing work is all feminine. Like when you play music and the creation, which is, the feminine, that's all of my healing work is, I'm in my masculine man body doing feminine work, like that. And I love that part of me. And I love the emotions and the tears that I bleed for people when I heal. I'm not this robot thing that is just a male masculine man. I'm
Mm,
all of it. Why do we have to limit ourselves to thinking that I'm just a man or just a masculine man? Why
yeah.
can't I be at all? And in deep resonance with the earth that surrounds us, and the rocks and the trees and the animals and our children, why can't I see myself in the reflection of all of them?
Mm.
Hmm.
I love that so much about you, brother, and it's just something incredibly powerful about seeing, um, yeah, such a, I guess, like physically strong man too, like yourself, being in that duality, and have been myself being so blessed to have seen you in many shades of Mike. Like, man, it's always so comforting, and not, you're not even comforting. That's, it can be all the things. It can, honestly, it can be all the things. It's not always comforting. Sometimes it's discomforting. But the one thing I feel is it makes me emotional. Like, just speaking about it right now, I can feel my eyes starting to weld up with tears, because it's like, man, just love you so much, and your heart, and your, that duality, and that openness to new possibilities, that openness to not everything is as it seems, that the possibility that the masculine is the feminine and the feminine is the masculine. And obviously we've got our physical 3D format here, and with our physical bodies and that, but there's just so much more to it. And um, I guess I've really learned to kind of beat around the bush a little bit over the years with the way I throw those terms around, masculine and feminine, from all the people that I've triggered along the way of saying that, and their
Yes.
interpretation of masculine, um, being like, whoa, rah, 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 rah. And it's like, yeah, I get it, I feel you. So, but again, that just instills with me, different parts of, okay, yeah, cool, no, there's something in that for me. And that duality is like, okay, yeah, yeah, no, I get it. And for me, when I'm explaining those things, I could say black or white, or yin and yang, or earth and water, or space and earth, or whatever it might be. But without one, you don't have the other, right? So just
Yeah.
embracing them all to the best of our bloody ability.
Yeah. But to bring it back, can we bring it back to,
Yeah.
I really feel called to, this is to speak to both the men and women, but maybe more the men in our audience. It just is what I'm navigating right now is I feel you. I feel all of you with that, especially today,
Yeah.
with that pressure that we put on ourselves, but be it conscious or unconscious, to provide and to do it right and do the right thing and to always be of some form of service to our feminine, to our women. And I'm using that in my current experience. Like it's a huge, I felt the weight of the earth in that today when I realized that's what I do. I to never fail the women. And I just can still hear my friend whispering, "You're always going to fail us." It's so beautiful.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, brother.
So
Beautiful.
grateful for her. She, yeah, and gave me the permission to fail and said, "I will love you. I love that part of you." And so then she invited me, "Can you love that part of you?" And that's what I wanted to share with them. This applies to men and women, but I know the pressure of men and say, "Can you love that part of yourself that's going to fail, that will fail?" Whether it be the feminine, whether it be yourself, whether it be your family, whatever it is, it's going to happen. And can you still love that part of you? And in doing that, I could feel the weight of the earth just lift off my shoulders just a little bit. I need
Mm.
to, I need to integrate that still and spend some time in that space of like, okay, I'm going to love the failure. I'm going to love the guy that's not supportive. The guy in me, I'm going to love the guy in me that's not the provider. I'm going to love the guy in me that's not stable. I'm going to love all the places where I'm going to fail.
Mm.
That's true self-acceptance.
Mm.
And I'm really looking forward to sitting with all of those parts of myself that I've denied myself, not allowing myself to fail. I'm so looking forward to sitting with those neglected parts and going, "I'm so sorry. I
Mm.
fucking love you. And I'm sorry that we haven't chatted. I'm sorry you didn't have a voice. And I'm sorry you carried the weight of the world for so damn long." Yeah.
I think into like bring that back to like a 3D question for someone that might feel like they're failing for someone right now, someone that they'd like to, that they're feeling a sensation that they're failing in some way, whether it be energetically in the 3D or in something unknown of, bring that to a question like, how can I, is there anything that I can do for you because I feel like I'm failing or something like that? But it's like that part of the journey. It's like, yeah, like you said, kind of just embracing that too, but using that to come into service, of course.
Mm.
But sometimes, in those situations, like just asking the questions of, hey, I'm feeling like I'm failing at that. Even just bring that vulnerability to say, hey, I'm feeling like I'm failing at this right now. I don't want to fail. Can you help me? Can you help? Can you give me something to assist me in not failing? Is that even appropriate, or is that something that you think we need to work on our journey along that?
I think, and I'm going to use Christina, my dear friend that helped me this morning, is she gave me the permission to fail. And so the question might be like you to sort of just rephrase that question is if you're with your beloved or whoever you might be failing, hey, this is something that's pressing me right now. I feel like I'm failing, or maybe I have failed already in this area. Can you still love that part of me?
Mm,
Because because I'm gonna love that part of me. My invitation is, can you accept all of my darkness where I fail?
yeah,
That's a beautiful thing to have, as opposed to asking for permission or asking for forgiveness.
yeah,
Can you just love
yeah,
part of me? It is a part of me. It's a part of my shadow. It's a part of me. I'm sure that you love my brilliance where I do all of the other things, but can we love the other part as well? And that's the integrated and whole individual where we love all of me. That's unconditional, true, divine, sacred union love. Yes to that.
yes to that.
Yes to that.
Mm,
I was privileged to receive that this morning, and I'm so grateful. So grateful. Yeah.
All right, so here's the juice, Mike. Have you had that
Go.
in your relationships? Have you had that in your relationships in your life?
No.
Hmm.
Um, Romantic. I don't believe so. Um, I've got two friends that I can. Yourself, so that makes it three. I've got three friends that I can clearly, categorically, unequivocally, without doubt, say yes. I've got that. But the romantic side hits different.
Mm.
Your beloved hits different when they see you fully and still love all parts of you and don't try and change them. And they
Mm.
love the darkness for you when you can't love it. Yes, it's beautiful. I've got those three people in my life that do that for me and hold me in that space. But it hits different when it's your beloved. It's
Mm.
one that when they're the ones that have the key to your heart, the only one in that special space. I've realized that, yeah, that's required. Love all of me.
Mm.
So, how
So,
about you?
yeah, my answer to this is I feel like it's a yes, and I feel it kind of comes down to a bit of that 90-second thing we spoke about before. Like, you and I, and maybe you and these other people in your life are only seeing certain glimpses of us, whereas maybe with our beloveds, we're with them all the time. So, and I know this is like we're kind of comparing maybe oranges and apples here, maybe different, but I think of my beloved now, and we're together a lot of the time, um, and she gets to see all the sides of me, and it's not always that. She does her best to come back to that. Would I say she's like that all the time? Would I say I'm like that all the time? No. Would I say I'm like that with you all the time? I'd say yes. But I'd say if we spent 24 hours together all day, every day for a few years, we'd probably have our moments.
Yeah.
So, and then you throw in the sprinkling of physical exchange in that too. Um, I don't know. Have I gone off track there? Like, bring me back, Mike. What am I saying?
No, I resonate with what you're saying. I think yeah, and it's the direct comparison to the 90-second highlight reel off Instagram. My friends and you, we spend a lot of time together, and my dear friends, you know, we spend quality time together, but not en masse like that. Yeah. So yes, the beloved has a harder road in that space. However, I still believe that witnessing someone and seeing them for who they are is important, and accepting that they've got flaws. And if I can love that person and understand they have flaws, then that's okay.
Mm,
And accept those flaws and go, okay, it's not my ideal, but that's what makes them J. That's
mm,
what makes them Mike. That's what makes them X. And I'm choosing you, and I'm choosing to spend my time with you. That means I'm choosing to love all of the things. And
mm.
it's not mine to change them.
Yeah, I feel like, this question for a beloved right now, can you come back to love? Like, can you commit to me to come back to love? I understand there's going to be storms. I understand that there's going to be things, but at the end of the day, if you're not, if you don't think, you're going to be able to come back to love, do the work to come back to love, then this isn't for me. And
Mm,
and I'm sick of trying to fight it. Can you come back to love? And can I come back to love?
mm,
And yeah, something along those lines feels right.
yeah. Yeah. Love is that's another topic, love.
Hmm.
Because if you love the frequency of love, or sorry, most people, and if we could frequency, we would just be in the frequency, which is the universal thought. It's the singularity. It's godlike. It's the universe, the soul, all encompassing. Love and light is interchangeable, and replaceable with God. If we were at that level, we wouldn't be having the question of, are we out of love? The fact that we're out of love is the separation. The fact that we have fallen again, the fall of man, into this duality of like separation or good and bad. Oh, you've got good traits and bad traits. Uh,
Mm.
that would be ideal, but we probably wouldn't exist on this planet at the speed of light.
Yeah. Oh, brother, so beautiful. I think we'll wrap it up there today, man. We've been struggling a bit with the internet today, so I'm going to see if our editor guys can pull it together a bit for us and make this flow. But love it, brother. Absolutely love your sharings, and thank you so much for once again bringing your magic. You teach me so much every single time we speak, and it's just such an honor and a privilege to spend time with you always, brother. Always. So thank you.
And equally the same, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me into the space of rawness once again.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, love you, brother. Thank you so much.